Hello, welcome to the Sports Philanthropy Podcast. I am your host, Roy Kessel, and today we are very excited to have with us special guest Joe Foster. Joe is the founder of Reebok, and we're very pleased to have him on the show with us today.
Hi, good morning, Roy.
Good morning, Joe. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, it's good. It's a pleasure. Those are some nice emblems behind you there. Some nice, yeah.
Thank you for Sports Philanthropy Network. So we're excited to have an opportunity to speak with you. I want to congratulate you on your amazing career in building Reebok and to be a successful and global giant in the sports world. And I know an opportunity to read Shoemaker, and interesting to learn about all the obstacles that you overcame that you described in the book. What do you think was the greatest obstacle that you had to overcome?
The greatest obstacle. I think breaking into the United States, breaking into America and making it big enough to be known. Because you can have a business in America and still nobody knows you because it's such a vast country. And so it was remarkable that we got there with aerobics. You know, we started off there as a running company, and but we did pivot to a women's company. So I think that was remarkable. But we managed to do that, and it took us to number one.
Along the way, you had a lot of risks that you took. You chronicled through the book many opportunities where there were challenges going on. What do you think was the biggest risk of all the things that you did?
I guess the biggest risk was just actually leaving the family business and starting up on our own. I think that was the big risk, even though we were very young at the time. We were in our early 20s. And I guess that's not too young these days. A lot of people set up much earlier than that. Now we've got such wonderful technology. But we took the risk of, we had no money. It was selling our properties to get some money to start off. So there was a big risk there. But I guess if you have that sort of entrepreneurial frame of mind, if you're an optimist, you know you can do it. And both Jeff and I, we both played sports. We both engaged in sports. Jeff was engaged in cycling and also running. I was badminton. The product we made was no good for badminton. It wasn't. You needed something which was molded. We were doing classical adhesive footwear, so which was great for cycling at that time and great for running. So Jeff sort of got us introduced into a lot of clubs, and we just grew from there. And but that was probably the biggest risk, was starting off. But then again, I mean, I think the biggest risk would, if we'd have not started, it would have been a big risk, because the Foster family business, they were going out of business. My father and uncle never spoke to each other, and if they did speak, it was usually an argument. So and that's not good. When they own 50-50 of a company, that the company had only one way to go, and that was going down. And so to have stayed there would have been a bigger risk.
Yeah, it's very hard to manage that in the workplace with partners or having represented lots of entrepreneurs. I know that. But one of the things that really hits me, you know, having read your book and having read Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, looking at both of you and saying how close you were at points along the way to failing, to being right at the end of that rope. And what point did you feel the most despondent, where you thought you were really at the end of the road?
When we knew we were going to fail?
When you thought that you were going to potentially have to close the doors?
Well, I guess that came pretty early when we had to change our name. Because we had to change our name, we then had to register the new name, and registering the new name and then registering it in various countries was an expensive job, and we didn't have the money. We literally didn't have the money to do that, but we couldn't have done it. We needed to do it. So we did it, and unfortunately, the agent, he decided to put a winding up order on us. And I never, even to this day, can't understand why he didn't sort of give me a call and say, Joe, we're going to have to do something serious here. And So it was good that our lawyer, he was very good. He was very good, and he got us out of that, and we managed to avoid winding up the company. So that was number one. But and that was very early in our experience. We were talking about the first 2-3 years of our experience. I guess the second one was we were doing very nicely, and I was now concentrating on trying to expand our market overseas. And so I agreed he was actually quite a friend, but a big, much larger company, a much larger sports company. I agreed for them to be our distributor. And that was okay because the head of sales was a good friend of mine. The problem was the man who ran the company, Harold Lawrence, who was Lawrence Sports, and they were quite a sizable company, but they only made soccer boots. And only making soccer boots meant their trade was just winter business. And during the summer months, they just made more soccer boots and held onto them till sort of early autumn. Then they would sell, and they would sell through winter. But we made outdoor training shoes. We made spike shoes. So we were making shoes that we sold a lot during the summer. So it made a lot of sense to go in there and help. But Mr. Lawrence decided we were only 12 months into our agreement, and he decided he was in his 70s, and he decided to retire and bring in his son-in-law to run the company. Big mistake. Big mistake indeed, because his son-in-law and my friend who was head of sales just did not get on together. So my friend left the company and went to Bata. I don't know if you know Bata. Bata is still the biggest shoe company in the world. He went to Bata to set up the sports division, and the son-in-law did everything wrong. He was an engineer. He didn't know how to run a company, and suddenly, from what seemed to be a very good idea, because having them as our distributors, we got a regular cash flow, which was brilliant. Now, the bank was never bothered about us once we got this regular cash flow. But now he wasn't paying for the product. They were trying to make all the excuses that our product was not good, and so they weren't paying. And so I said, well, if you're not paying, I'm going to have to take the product back. So I went down and I brought all this product back, but we didn't. We're now without any distribution. So we had to decide within a 20-mile radius of our factory. We went to every school, every school, and talked to the the physical education department, the teacher, and we arranged to sell all our product at half the retail price, half the normal retail price, which was still better price than we were getting from the distributor. And so we managed to clear all our stock in about 3 months. We managed to clear all the stock I'd gone back for. We had to lay off a lot of people. We had to lay off the factory. But in that 3 months, a lot of people, we made a lot of friends. They saw the problem. They came to our help. Even the sales manager who gone down to Bata, he gave us an order for 200 pairs a week. And the odd thing about that is that he also supplied the leather. Well, Bata supplied the leather, and they supplied everything we wanted to make the shoes, paid us for the shoes before we paid for the leather. So I guess that was a close call, but we had a few friends like that who came out and just asked, can you make some shoes for us? And eventually then we got another distributor came along and took over the role of being our distributor. So we got back to making our own products again. But yeah, that was, again, it was a matter of how do we answer the problems? And yeah, we had to change our name. We had to change our silhouette because Adidas thought we'd infringed the trademark. But what we learned from that was these challenges, these problems were actually opportunities. And when we started thinking, this is an opportunity, how do we maximize the opportunity here? And through all the time that we were working, building Reebok, and deciding that problems are opportunities, and they always turned out good for us. if we were determined enough not to sit back and say, what do we do? No, let's look for the opportunity. So that was the best thing for us.
Well, and I think that the loyalty that you showed in so many of those situations is part of what carried you through. But you were faced with many difficult situations, as you said, with your father, with business partners, financial struggles, your daughter's illness. When you look back at yourself, how did you develop the resiliency to handle those types of situations? Because that's something that would have overwhelmed many people.
I think it's really a matter of saying, look, we've got to come through this. Like you say, the thought of not coming through it would have been worse than let's come together. What can we do? How can we answer this? How do we get on with this? And having that determination, I think it's having the determination to find an answer. And if you have that determination, you will find the answer. We were fortunate enough. We did find answers to the problems. And you do have to pivot. I mean, we didn't know we were doing that, but in those days, you have to pivot. We had tried the distribution. We ended up selling direct to athletes. And we got direct sales because we were very much in the athletics world, and all in every town in the country had an athletics club. In Bolton, they had Bolton United areas. In Bury, where we had the factory, we had Bury and Radcliffe areas. So we just went to each of the clubs, and we said, if somebody in the club wants to be an agent, we'll give him 15%. So and also, every one of those clubs were affiliated to the 3As, the Amateur Athletic Association, and they produced a handbook with the address and name of every secretary in every club in the country. So it was a letter to all these people, giving them. We ended up with about 250 to 300 agents, and that was great. All of a sudden, our business was booming again, and we were getting the retail price, less 15%. So our margins were so much better. And we became really the number one athletic supplier in the UK before I decided I needed to expand the company. And do we create more product, a different product? But soccer was still in the hands of Adidas, or do we look for expanding the territory? And that's when I took on the role of getting to America to get us into the American market.
Well, that was a big risk and ultimately a great decision, and paid off in a lot of the success you had. You've had the good fortune to attend many charity events and functions. What are the causes that you are most passionate about, and how do you support those causes?
Well, now we're into, I mean, I wrote my book, and now we're onto other books. We're working with people called One Golden Nugget, and producing these books, which are Survive and Thrive. And so now we're building a school in, is it Uganda?
Yeah.
A school in Uganda. And this is the second book. We'll have another charity. So we're doing whatever charity that we pick on at the time. We don't have any one in particular, but we like to do these things for charity now. So that's good. And we're just about to start our third book. We've done one, we're just finishing two, and we'll go on to the third book. So it's, and of course, it's nice to go around speaking.
Well, Joe, what would you like your legacy to be going forward? You've accomplished so much, but what would you like your lasting legacy to be?
Oh, I don't know really. I suppose really he had fun. And because that's why I say, if anybody said what's the most important thing about running a company, I say having fun. If you're having fun, good chances that you'll be successful. So just have fun. And yeah, I guess have fun.
Well, Joe, I want to thank you for coming on and joining us today. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak. Congratulations on everything you've accomplished, and we're excited to continue to follow the work and the impact that you continue to make on the world.
Roy, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having this meeting. It's good. I've enjoyed it, and we're back over in the States later this year, November. We'll get out to Los Angeles and do one or two other things as well. But yeah, we love it out there, and we've got lots of friends now.
Well, you've got friends everywhere. You've showed a lot of loyalty in the work that you've done and the way you've built up the company and transitioned that. So enjoy following that success, and hopefully you get a chance to see you while you're out in LA in November.
Well, hope so. It'll be good. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time and insight into everything that you accomplished at Reebok. To all of our viewers and listeners, we want to thank you for joining the Sports Philanthropy Podcast. This is your host, Roy Kessel, reminding you to live generously.